Getting up early in the morning in the summer and thinking you have nothing but topwater tied on is about as fun as I can think.
I mean, when it's hot, I love getting out there early and throwing something on top. I mean, it may not be the best way to fish, we don't have any idea, but at least you know that you get that adrenaline going and you might catch one on topwater.
You get 1 or 2 bites on topwater and you feel like you almost sometimes had a successful day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I mean, everybody likes topwater, and there's so many different classes of topwater, and so it'll be fun to see what they're biting on.
And the first catch of the day goes to Wade with the Spro Flappin' Frog 65.
We'll find you a flapper.
But you got started anyway.
Yeah. Take long. Like I said, 1 or 2 bites of topwater, you feel like sometimes you've had a pretty successful day.
You know, Wade, a lot of times one thing you think about when you're throwing topwater, and you're kind of thinking, all right, well, what bait's going to get the most bites, but also what bait can you fish through it?
Yeah.
You know, because it's got that scattered grass. So, you know, in this situation, you're kind of throwing a little bit of a flapping frog, and I'm actually able to get this patrol or plopper style bait through it just fine.
Now, on the topic of choosing which topwater baits to throw, another tactic to consider is what type of line to use. Let's ask the pros what they think.
Fluorocarbon is not the right line to throw topwater with because it'll actually sink a topwater, but between braid and mono, I mean, some guys, I still got buddies that swear by mono. I've kind of gone to braid on most of mine.
I still throw mono on my poppers.
On your popper?
I still throw it on my popper. I like the action. I feel like I can cast it better. Right. But I throw a popper on 10 or 12 pound test a lot.
Right,
you know, I don't throw it on real heavy line, but out on doing something like this with this much grass, I think you're making a big mistake not having braid, don't you?
Yeah. And it's so easy to set the hook. I mean, you just don't have to, it's not a big ordeal. You know, you just basically pull and you got him.
Today's braid though, I mean, you look at some of the stuff the Sunline has that we can cast so far. You know, years ago, there wasn't a lot of braids you could do this with. It just blow up. And, no, they're designing stuff to be able to fish a frog at long distances. I got him on the old frog out there though. We can throw her to the left now, right over there.
Yeah. I'm really trying hard, but I got everything all tangled up.
This was our best chance of a quick double right there when they're schooling. Oh, yeah. Did he hit it before it even hit the water?
No, I twitched it one time.
One twitch. That is awesome.
This is when you set your poles down and...
yeah, just set her. They're definitely chasing right in there.
That was a great bite right there.
I used to make a lot of mistakes when I first started using braid. I was actually using way too heavy a rod in a lot of situations. And not only was it very fatiguing, it was very difficult to be accurate. It was very difficult to be able to work the bait in those situations, and it was very tiring after a while. And as I got to really studying it and watching other people, I learned pretty quick that sometimes a 7-foot, a 7'3" with a little better tip gave my baits a little better action, which resulted in more strikes, and I still had plenty of backbone to be able to get all the fish that I needed in. You know, when you start looking at cover and how the fish will set up on it, it's so unique and so different. And as we run down the bank in different situations, you notice one of us will have a stretch where they catch 4, 5, 6, fish, and the other one might only catch 1 in there. And it's, a lot of times it's just that area is more in tune for that type of bait. It sets up a little better for it. And we got back there in the back of that one little pocket and those fish were schooling, and he tied on that walking bait that was making a ton of noise. And I mean, it was like every fish in the cove was swimming right to his bait. None of them would want to bite mine at that time. Then we got up on the dam and I went on a stretch where I caught like 7 and he caught 1. It's just, it goes in cycles like that.
Gosh, that was a great bite. I mean, and you were barely moving.
Barely moving it. And he bit, that's really all the line I had out right there. I mean, this doesn't make a ton of sense to be winding a frog like this right down a rocky bank.
Yeah, it doesn't, but I mean, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, proof's in the bites. I think some of that has to do with the lack of pressure, the way they manage this lake too.
Yeah, I think so.
When you get on a heavily pressured public lake, it can make fishing pretty tough. So when you can find places like the Valley Lake Ranch here, it's specifically set up for a guy that is looking to catch fish, to get bites. And a lot of it is based on the management aspect of it, but it's also based on the rotational resting of the property. This body of water, which is, just right at around 1,200 acres, allows you to, not fish it a lot. There's only a couple of boats ever going to be out here at a time, unless it's probably a big group. And you can tell, how aggressive some of these fish strikes are because of that resting. And it sets up great for a guy that wants to go get some bites and have a chance to catch a big one. Got it. He got it that time.
That's a good one, though. That first bite was just amazing. Wade has not stopped to even look at my fish. Oh,
That's
you
a nice
did
one.
look.
It's a dandy.
That was a good bite. So when thinking about topwater baits, there's a lot of different classes of them. There's poppers, go back and forth, or they'll spit water out in front. There's walking baits that just totally go back and forth. There's flapping baits that are either frogs or kind of a soft plastic that you reel over the top of cover. There's buzz baits, there's plopper style baits, there's prop baits. So there's all different kinds of classes of topwater, and every one of them can have their place in bass fishing.
Gah.
It was just sitting there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
or was it not?
I was trying to pick out a little backlash.
He wouldn't let you?
No.
God.
God.
Here, put those poles down right now. Yeah,
Get him. Got him. He's on there. That is too cool. I could see that fish with your bait
yeah.
going down in his mouth.
You were like, Clark, he's got it.
That one got it. He's a little better. Gosh, boy, I thought he was going to be.
He hit it big.
Well, I watched him bite it and would have lied about him being a 4-pounder. He comes, oh, you got it. Yeah, I did too. Clark's hooked up behind me. There's no love for my fish because he's hooked up and got one.
Well, mine's not big, even though it looked big. It was fun, though.
You throw them in the slop like that, they all look good. I mean, that's just about as fun as you're gonna find.
I mean, our topwater morning that we thought was gonna be so good was pretty good.
Pretty good. About as good as it can get right there. Topwater fishing to me is something that, I mean, even as a little kid, you just could not get enough of it. You know, the image of tossing a bait out there and you're twitching it and pausing it or fishing it real fast, and you know, you just feel like you're gonna get a bite at any time. You're watching it and you're so zoned in on it, and then when one blows up, it's all chaos.
You actually visually see the fish bite the bait. Sometimes you'll see him come out of the water, come down on top of it. Sometimes it'll be an explosion from underneath. Literally every fish we had today, you're thinking, man, that's gonna be a 5 to 6 pounder, because that's the way they bite. They're so aggressive. And so, I mean, topwater, I love it for multiple reasons. You can catch lots of fish with it, and it gets bites, and that's the biggest key.
Well, that's all the time we have for topwater fishing today, folks. Next time you hit the water, keep some of these tips and tricks you've learned from the pros in mind. And hopefully, you'll get some awesome bass strikes of your own.